Welcome one and all to the K.O.E Nation for this very special long time coming review of Castle and Key Weeded Bourbon. Folks, I am your King of Extreme, Phil K.O.E, the man of the hour, the man with the power, the man that makes the other podcast cower. You can, of course, find me at K.O.E Nation on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, Twitter-X, wherever great content can be found. Now, today we're going to get into Castle and Key. Tony and I did record a review for this, but unfortunately there was a problem in the recording and we weren't able to use that footage. So that's why I say this one's been a long time coming. Castle and Key small batch weeded Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. 49% alcohol by volume, 98 proof, 750 milliliter, released in 2022. Honoring history and challenging tradition. Castle and Key restored the historic Old Taylor Distillery, erected in 1887, with a new vision and promise. The awakening of this legendary bourbon icon enables us to create captivating spirits and endearing memories. We craft our spirits with carefully selected grain and unique barrel regiment to thoughtfully produce distinct spirits to our exacting standards. Come raise a glass with us. Small batch weeded bourbon. Batch number 2, bottle 11237, years aged, 5 years. Distilled and bottled by Castle and Key Distillery in Pike, Frankfort, Kentucky. Or is that McCracken Pike, Frankfort, Kentucky. God almighty. McCracken Pike. I like it already. So, Castle and Key bourbon, its bottle is lovely, I must say. This presents handsomely. The cork, it's a big synthetic cork, so you can really reuse this bottle after you're done. Like any synthetic cork, you can reuse it. I mean, even if you just fill it with water in case you're worried about that. Yeah, they're perfect for that. But this one just presents so handsomely, so I'm definitely going to keep this one around, so in case like a really nice bottle cracks, you can pour it in here and then just write on here what it is. Like, just get a black permanent marker and write whatever. So this is definitely a great backup bottle. So I have to say, on presentation alone, Castle and Key does get a thumbs up from the K.O.E Nation. But now, the more important part. Now I'm going to see if what I picked up from the original review comes through here, because what I recall from the original review was Castle and Key's nose was very light. All you really caught on the nose was sugar cookie, and there was only a light dusted sugary sweetness on the palate. Tony was not all that impressed. I thought it was a marvelous mixer and a beautiful sipper, but let's see if after getting it past the shoulder and seeing where we're at now, let's see if it's matured at all. Still a very subtle sweet, but there's almost a slight apple there now. So interesting. Very, very subtle nose. There's not much there. A slight dusted, sugary, light apple. But you're not smelling any ethanol, which is amazing. So, well, slanjava. Everything I said on the nose comes through slightly. There's a peppery oak on the back. There's the beginnings. There's the beginnings of a chocolatey sweet that give way to that very oaky, leathery back. Interesting. This is one that I think probably gets a bad rap by some folks because the bottle's so beautiful. You're almost expecting William LaRue Weller to come out of the bottle, but this is a very good, sweet, approachable weeded bourbon. Okay, now I can already taste on it. This is one of those bourbons where if you have like 9 guys for a poker game, like 3 guys is going to be their favorite whiskey in the world. 5, couple of guys are going to be like, eh, and then the rest of them aren't going to really want it. It's going to be a crowd divider, okay? Some folks are going to love it, some folks aren't. But I think if you know what you're getting into, you can definitely have some real good fun with this. I think if you mixed it with any kind of soda that was spicy, like, Barks root beer, eternally, always good with any kind of bourbon, but I would also say like Dr. Pepper, Mr. Pibb, those kinds could mix quite well with this. Now, for those who don't know, we now move on to the hardest part of this, the grading. And we grade here on a 5-star scale, 5 meaning you have to have it before you shuffle off this mortal coil, 0 meaning pass it on by. The K.O.E Nation has advised you well. So we're going to grade this as a bourbon, as a whiskey, as a cask-aged spirit. It's shelving, and for those new to the show, the secret 5th question. So, as a bourbon, you don't get too many typical bourbon notes here. I mean, there's just no vanilla there. You do get oak, no caramel, because it's just kind of like a dusted, like powdered sugar with apple, but very light, very subtle. It's nothing is very, very intrusive on this palate. So that alone, quite interesting. So in terms of a bourbon, I am going to give this 3 stars. Okay. It's above the middle point of 2.5, but there's really not a lot of those prototypical bourbon notes that you would be looking for to just say, like, if you put this bottle down, say bourbon to someone who's never had it before. I feel like there's other bottles you'd reach for. Now, I'm going to be more generous in the whiskey because this is utterly cocktailable, incredibly approachable. So with that being said, I'm going to give it 3.75 as a whiskey because it works in that regard. It just does. Now, in terms of cask-aged spirit, it's been aged 5 years, and I appreciate the fact that they gave us that. I'm going to say 3.25 because I really feel like this just needs more time. That's really it. Like 6, 8 years, 10 year is going to be just, that sugar cookie is going to really start to fill out at a 10 year. But we're going to have to wait some time for that, folks. But yeah, I think this one, there's potential here. There's a lot of potential with this particular batch. Now, we move on to the shelving. This is somewhere between your middle to bottom shelf, okay? Depending on which shelf whichever shelf is more lonely, has less bottles, that's where this would go. I know some people aren't a big fan of this. I think it's utterly approachable if you know what you got here, okay? The secret 5th question is, when this bottle runs empty, will I seek another one? Well, I don't remember exactly what I paid for this bottle. I can't remember off the top of my head, so I'm going to put right here the general MSRP of a bottle of Castle and Key Wheated Bourbon. See that? Yeah, that is quite reasonable. All right. We now must answer this ultimate question. Would I replace this bottle when it comes time to empty it? No, I'm not going to replace this particular bottle. I'm going to see about some other wheated bourbons, perhaps from Castle and Key. I'm curious about other batches. I'm curious how they've come along. The bottles, though, are beautiful. So I'm probably going to check out some other Castle and Key releases because, I mean, these are just beautiful, regal, handsome in their presentation, and they make for great decanters once they're done. So I gotta say, Castle and Key, you found a way to definitely get a sale with this particular bottle because it's just gorgeous in its presentation. But folks, as I'm known to say around here, all that being said, this has been my review of Castle and Key Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. God bless every last one of you. I hope all of you make it back here to the KOE Nation happy, healthy, much the wiser. You can, of course, find me at KOE Nation on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter. God bless every last one of you. Travel well.